And welcome back to GBS Morning Extra. If you are just joining us, today we are joined by a guest who will be talking to us more about, the safety of using agrochemical products, and also he's going to shed more light on what his organization in particular does. And remember, right before this, we had spoken about the invasion of locusts in Kenya, and these insects need also to be controlled. What is being used to control these, we could call them pests or insects. And without further ado, I'd like to invite my guest to first introduce himself and what he does, which organization he works for. Karibu sana kwa studio.
Thank you.
Maybe just start by introducing yourself to our viewers, who you are and what you do.
My name is Eric Kimungui. I work for Agrochemical Association of Kenya.
Yeah.
Agrochemical Association of Kenya is an umbrella organization of all manufacturers, formulators, users of pest control products. It is situated here in Kenya at Cooper Center.
Yes.
And our main mandate is to look at stewardship. We are churning innovations for the farmers. And our main role here is to make sure that the innovations from the production level, from the laboratory to the farm, is used in a sustainable way, safer to the environment, safer to the people and everybody else. So what we do is mainly training farmers, making sure that they know how to read and understand the products they're using. Training also the value chain participants to understand the innovations that we are trying to do. So AAK does not exist in isolation. It works alongside other organizations. For instance, we have people who are international who manufacture these products. So we have affiliates like CropLife International, CropLife Africa Middle East that we work with in terms of sharing good practice in managing these innovations to the farmer. So at the end of the day, we make sure that our farmers and everybody else handling the products that we are giving out, could it be crop protection product, it could be, let's say, the genomics and everything else, that he handles in a more responsible manner. They understand the innovations they're handling so that we protect their health and the environment.
Yeah, because I think that's important, because we've had cases where farmers use products that are not really, they are, like you mentioned earlier before we started the show, misuse of products. I gave you a situation where farmers in Narok one time sprayed, animals, and within no time they lost more than 100 plus animals. Now, in such a case, you as an association that deals now with the manufacturers through to the laboratory and to the end user, how do you, when you say you make sure, then how do you engage in training even farmers to be able to understand their products and use the right product when it is needed?
First of all, that before the product goes to the farmer, it is evaluated. There are tests that are done, evaluated, and seen is fit for the environment, fit for that particular use.
All right.
Okay? And there are also precautions that in case you misuse this product, this is likely to happen.
All right.
This information is summarized and put on a product label. Okay?
Yes.
And now the stock is the person dispensing the product. Remember, this product must come from a manufacturer.
Yes.
It must go to the distribution chain.
Yes.
So it moves in the chain with the information. So each and every participant in the chain must understand. Because at the end of the day, the farmer is the one who is going to use it.
Yes.
These ones are just passing the value addition, probably. But the recommendations at the farmer level is more critical. So what we do is that, first of all, we make sure that those recommendations, as per the evaluations, as per the tests, are clear to the farmer. That in a language a farmer can understand.
The farmer can understand, yeah.
That person prescribing, that person dispensing that product to the farmer is well trained to do that.
Understands the
product, understands the farmer problem. Remember, another issue could be that not the farmer is not misusing. Another farmer could be misdiagnosis of the problem.
All right.
And that's a critical aspect in handling these particular products we're doing. Not even in animals or crops as well, even in human beings. Misdiagnosis will be dire, it will bring dire consequences. So what we are saying that if a farmer will not be in a position to identify the problem, and he goes to a rogue person selling him something and it gives them, it will bring problem. So what we do is that, first of all, we try to train the stockists so that they have adequate knowledge to train the farmers. We train the farmers. We train also we work with the extension staff if they exist.
Yes.
The field force, the salespeople of organizations try to reach the farmer.
Right.
We have advertisements. We have brochures. People are making products, telling them how to identify the pest and which products are likely to be used to do that. So it takes quite a bit of time. Remember, if you have to target 2 million farmers, it's quite difficult with that.
Not easy.
But it's all our responsibility to make sure that farmers have adequate knowledge. Either training children in school, training women in marketplaces to identify the problem. We have also other stakeholders, like for Kabi came up with the plant clinics. You know, try just to make sure that farmers the problem can be diagnosed by the farmer. Then you can prescribe the right interventions for that. So if you get it wrong, then probably the farmer is going to use it in a wrong way, and you're going to have a problem. So basically, we try to work with everybody else to make sure that we bring the knowledge of farmer to a level that they can basically identify the pest, and match it with the right intervention method.
I mean, the importance of what you guys are doing vis-a-vis the kind of farming that we've had, you know, generally. And you find that in some places, still, you know, just the traditional way of farming is what people most likely just want to employ. You know, vuna mahindi yako kwa shamba, enda chukua zile zinaonekana ni kubwa, weka pale jikoni, zichapwe na moshi, ikifika wakati wa kupanda, utaenda utapanda without using any pesticide. When we talk about food security, how does organizations that now link up, you know, guys who come with innovation, maybe of best, you know, new seeds or new pesticides to tackle diseases in crops, you know, what's the importance of this, and how does this reflect in terms of food security in the country?
Yes, you have talked about the traditional farming methods, which have been used before, and we thank them because they brought us where we are. But now, when you look at the population explosion, the population growth rate, and the challenges we have and the climate change, it is no longer tenable for a farmer to go and dry seeds and continue recycling the same seeds, and he will not even be able to feed this. Remember, farming is the longest serving profession. Every retirees go back to farming, and farmers in the village are farmers, small-scale farmers. They have to feed themselves using the farm. They have to pay school fees for their children. They have to take the medical cover, the medication. So it's all the insurance. It's all about farming.
It's all about farming.
Now, if you go to embrace the traditional methods that you are planting it through recycled seeds, and you want to feed your 10 family and sell a bit, you are not going to manage. But if you are alone, you can do it in your kitchen garden and do that. So you have to embrace, and you remember everybody's trying to transit these farmers from small-scale farmers producing for their own food to at least a businessman, to commercial farming. So you have to embrace the right seeds. The seeds that will guarantee you yields. And nowadays, we're not even talking about yields because of the climate change. You have to get yields that are tolerant to certain aspects. It could be, depending on where you are, it could be salinity. I mean, it's salts in water. You see, we hear a lot of, we require lime because soils have become acidic. So we need to breed varieties that are tolerant to that, high-yielding varieties that are tolerant to drought. We have seen episodes of drought here. Or insect, like the fall armyworm, for instance. So we have to embrace that technology so that we reduce the burden of protecting the crops. We increase the yield, not only to feed ourselves, but also we can do to trade. We have to go even to the greenhouses. We are talking before that. We have to go to the right fertilizers, not just general fertilizers. We have to go to soil-specific fertilizers that are going to be. And remember, that's the technology. Because the moment you identify the problem, there's precision in what you give. You can actually deliver exactly what the crop requires. And therefore, you also protect the environment so that you don't have excess that leaches into the groundwater, go everywhere else. So technology is what is going to drive food security in this country. So as much as we have proponents who say technology is bad and everything else, yes, we agree. Technology must be done within a certain framework, that the risks must be evaluated. And therefore, the technology deployed. And if you can see, look at the seeds. The seeds have driven this country. The maize high yielding. Right now, we have people who can produce up to 50%, 50 bags of maize. We have seen that. Even in the middle to low altitude areas, we have seen that one is driving the yields up. Look at the use of fertilizers. Now it's changing. It's no longer just fertilizers. You have to check site-specific recommendations. Soil testing is coming up. Why? So that you see what the soil is doing, and you see the crop efficiency utilization. People are studying it.
What minerals you need
yes,
to
you
add
need,
for the
and
soil.
how can we make our plants more efficient to utilize what we are going to have. Previously, they were not using these pesticides, they were using cow dung. You can imagine now if you have to produce for this kind, how many animals will you require to have to produce cow manure in this country? Yes, we need organic matter in the soil. We need to improve it. We need to improve the livelihood of soil. That one, we need to integrate all the technologies. So technologies are the ones that are going to do that. Let's go to crop protection, for instance. We have to talk about crop protection.
Yes.
Look at the episodes we are having. I can tell you. You remember the maize leather necrotic?
Yes.
We had it. We had the fall armyworm. Tomatoes was almost wiped out.
Yes.
We had a problem with Q-tops and now we are going into to locust issue. These technologies cannot be managed. These problems cannot be managed with the traditional practices that we have been using, the ash, using everything else. But they must be managed with technologies that match them. We have to use
at a large scale.
At a large scale, crop protection methods. For instance, look, fall armyworm. How can you control the ones that are flying, billions, things covering kilometers square? So we need to embrace technology. We have to look at technology in a way that is going to drive the food security agenda in this country. But we agree also they must be evaluated on their risk, which is already done. So those are some of the things that we are looking at. And it's not only on products, even on application. Now people treat seeds to protect the vectors of the necrotic virus. And it protects up to a certain period of time. By doing that, it prevents you from going to open up more land in forests, but you increase productivity per unit area. And by protecting the seed as well, it also reduces your protection during the growth, because if you protect the seeds and you plant it, you have another 1 month you're not going to put anything, so you are protected. So those technologies must be there. You have to study. Science is going to drive it, and to look at how well are we going to use. And even you look at the technologies that we are using currently in crop protection. Previously, when you look at the application rates per hectare, there were 5 to 10 kgs. Right now, people are using grams per hectare. Okay? People have gone into nanotechnology for formulations. So you deliver a specific product to a specific problem within a short time. The application equipment doing that. And even innovations are going in terms of how do we protect the farmers. We have personal protective equipment that farmers need to access. We know accessibility to inputs and these things is a challenge. But as an industry also, we are coming up with other ways, thinking of ways on how we can deliver or protect the farmers from use of these crop protection products. And one thing that we are trying to develop right now is how can we have a specialized team, a trained person who understands, one, diagnosis of the pest problem, crop physiology, how does the crop behave, nutrition, what are the requirements, so that when he's looking at the crop at the farmer level, he's looking at it in totality. And he looks at it and says, this problem, it could not be a disease. It could be. And if it needs an intervention, be it an insect or a disease, he can recommend to a farmer and also assist the farmer in applying. Okay? At a fee. So we are calling these farmers, because they are farmers, they are picked from a group of farmers, so that they can influence the farmer at that particular spray service provider. As an industry and other stakeholders, we have trained quite a bit, over 1,000 of those. Here in Kenya.
For what period?
This is for past 1 year. And our target is, now we are trying to talk with the Minister of Agriculture. How do we upscale this technology? How do we have policy support instruments that are going to support this? The county governments can take a role, industry can take a role, and the national government can take a role, so that we bring these people there. That one will make sure that the farmer gets the best out of the product. Because there's proper diagnosis and there's proper match of the intervention. 2, the farmer will not over-apply the product because the accurate rate will be applied. That one will guarantee what? Will guarantee what? Food safety. Food safety in terms of the right dose has been given, the right withholding period will be
the right yield.
Exactly, and the farmer will get the yield. So the benefits are immense in terms of environment, in terms of safety to the farmer, and in terms of the value for money the farmer gets. And besides that, also we are thinking that because these products are packed in terms of packaging plastics. Most of them are packed in plastic. And we'll have also a mechanism, because already we have mechanisms to collect, take-back system. We take plastics from the container, and we take them for incineration or recycling. And this is going also to provide a good mechanism for us to do that. So by doing this, we are moving the farmer from the role of applying the product, removing the risk from the farmer. But that one will require time, because remember, we have almost 2 to 3 million farmers. And for you to have a number of those guys, we also need support from government. And before you do that, we also need to have a right policy that will support the uptake of that technology. So, and that is what we are negotiating and discussing with the government now. It's already started, actually. The committee is already set. And we are going forward, we are going to see quite a lot of activities in that arena.
Yeah, because when we're talking about food security, and I mean, one of the big four agendas of the president or the national government is to ensure food security. Then there are all these factors, like you mentioned, that build up to that. You know, food security is not just food security. It's using the right products, using the right, you know, instructing the farmer to use the right seeds at the right time. Also being conscious of, you know, the climate and which products to do well, where, and so on and so forth. What is your reach in Kenya?
In terms of our activities?
Yes.
Because we, as an organization, we are very, very, in terms of personnel and in terms of resources. Remember, the resources we use are just from members. We are very limited. But we target the potential areas. We work through, because we have recognized that fact, we partner with the Ministry of Agriculture. We partner with county governments and development partners. Because they recognize that we are doing a good thing, but we are limited. And therefore, we try to work through this, so that, establish. We come with ideas, we sell to them, they fund us, and we try to do that. Now, the reason why we are partnering with the Ministry of the Ministry of Agriculture is because if we can have a good policy, then the uptake of these technologies will be far, particularly the ones that touches at the farmer level. Impacting at the farmer level, changing the behavior of farmers and everything else. But in terms of training, yes, we target to train farmers, and every year we target 5,000 to 10,000 farmers depending on the resources. But that's also a challenge. And you train that. We also try to do the audit. How are farmers coping? For instance, I'll give you an example. If you do a survey and look at, you go to Western and say, you just want to understand, you did a training there. How do farmers read the labels? Do they understand? How do they dispose of the product? How do they understand how to calibrate the knapsack sprayer? How many have access to these inputs? Because remember, accessibility to these inputs is also another thing. You could say as much as possible. But I can tell you now, when you go to most counties, that access to fertilizers, seeds, and crop protection has thoroughly improved. It will vary from region to region, but it has thoroughly improved. And this is because of business. I mean, people want to do business as well. And also there's a deliberate effort with development partners to make sure that farmers access the right, not only the inputs, the right inputs at a farmer level. So we, as an industry, we work with each and everybody working in agriculture value chain to make sure, farmers have the information, distributors have the information, and that we also strengthen the agro-dealer network in this country. By strengthening agro-dealer network, therefore then you are strengthening the distribution. You are linking the farmer and the flow of the technologies so that they meet at a particular level. Besides that, also we are also calibrating policies that are going to favor farmers. The reason agriculture pesos were VAT, meaning that the 16% was charged. Now they are zero rated, and it's through the efforts of lobbying the government through with other partners to make sure that these products, yes, as much as the industry, we can make them accessible to the farmers. But if we continue charging VAT, farmers will not get it, and they might go for products that are, let's say, counterfeit or something like that, which is pose a risk. And the government listened, and now is zero rated, meaning that farmers can get those products cheaply. So there are quite an array of strategies that we do to make sure to support the agriculture value chain. Because you mentioned about food security. So food security is one, as I told you, technology is one going to drive it. And it's a government decision to do that. So what we can do is to support the government in achieving the food security, training the farmers, making sure they have the information, making markets work for the farmers so that they don't produce and the products go into losses. Because remember, you can produce food, achieve your yields, and then lose it in post-harvest handling. How many farmers are able, in terms of keeping food, if the markets are not favorable for them, they wait for the next season. So its ability in storage facilities, then we have a lot of losses that we get in post-harvest handling. Either in fresh produce.
Does that also have to do with, cases that we've experienced in the past of high aflatoxin levels in, grains or maize? Because if we don't get the right what could I call it, combination or mixing of the chemicals that we use to preserve the food in our granaries, then probably we might find ourselves in a position where we use the products, but then not in the right way. So yes, we preserve it to the next season, but
exactly.
It comes with.
So I mean, for aflatoxin, we have losses even in all the food value chain, even milk. You can lose milk in post-harvest. In horticulture, we see tomatoes, people are producing tomatoes. Probably markets are saturated in this market. Farmers have no information on the other markets where they can sell, and when they go to the market, the prices
they can only go
prices are on the
far
floor, and they cannot make it. So basically, they need to have to make markets work. But coming back to a very important aspect that you mentioned about aflatoxin. So aflatoxin is, is caused. The spagulus, the cause organism for aflatoxin, is found in the fields. So because it's all over. So now, another thing we are talking about is also people are even evaluating the possibility of breeding for tolerance about aflatoxin. So those are some of the solutions that science can help. But apart from that one, is that aflatoxin is a bigger problem. When you look at the maize handling, the way farmers harvest maize, storage, transport, put it on the ground, where asparagus, the native home for asparagus, it can be picked by the crop. When it goes into storage, it already has a lot of aflatoxin. And aflatoxin will go into the, even dairy animals, food. If traditionally at home, that maize, I'm not saying it's aflatoxin, because they're rotten maize.
Sure.
But people think that that's most likely it contains aflatoxin, but maybe it could be a rotten. That is, maize is fed on animals, isn't it?
Sure.
And that is the milk that we take. That is the chicken feeds that we eat, the eggs that we eat, and everything else. But now, aflatoxin, as an industry, as we speak now, we have a product, Aflasafe, that is going to be distributed for aflatoxin treatment. So it is all an area of thing. When you talk about food security, we are talking about food security in terms of having enough and also having safe food.
Now, another issue that you mentioned in your conversation that I picked, and I would like just to mention this. I know it is the mandate, the full mandate of the government to make sure that counterfeit products are not in the market. But you, as guys who are now linking the manufacturer and the end user, what are some of the measures that you, in your own organization, have put in place to try and mitigate the spread or distribution of counterfeit products?
Counterfeit is a vice globally. Counterfeit is a vice regionally. And in Kenya, counterfeit will be. If you look at the statistics, it's in all the industries. And it's a big vice even to the economy. So as an industry, we have recognized this as counterfeit is a vice. And we have a dedicated committee on dealing with counterfeit. So the war against counterfeit, we work with the regulator. Our regulators, we have Pest Control Products Board that directly regulates products within the industry. We have the Kenya Plant Health Inspectoral Services that is also doing some things on seeds, and also we have also counterfeit in fertilizers, by the way. So what we have done for counterfeit is for training farmers to identify genuine products, which is a challenge because counterfeit evolves. It keeps on evolving, and sometimes it's difficult even for even owners of brands to differentiate between counterfeit and not a counterfeit product. So what have we decided to do is that we now have to clean the channel. How do we make sure that the channel from manufacturer to the farmer is guaranteed at least 90% that they're going to sell genuine products? In this case now we have what we call accreditation distribution. So we accredit all these staff of member companies that are selling. Because remember, counterfeit does not come on itself. There must be somebody within the industry who is involved in counterfeiting. So we try to train them to understand the vice, the repercussion of the vice, and probably the consequences. Through training with those guys, we believe that we have guaranteed the farmer is going to get a safe thing, so that he has a sticker on it saying that this is a genuine distributor. You see like what happens in the pharmacy, so that you can link to the distributor. We also tell farmers that if you buy a product, you must make sure that you get a receipt for that. That you have to check the batch number, the date of manufacturing, the Pest Control Products registration number. So that in case there's any problem, there's traceability, we can trace back to this stockist, you can trace back to the distributor, and you can go back to that. And besides that, we also, the regulator does the raids. I'll not talk so much on the work of the regulator,
Yes.
but they do raids where they believe, they have reasonable grounds to believe that
there is distribution of counterfeit.
and also they will take them to court. And recently we work with Anti-Counterfeit Authority.
All right.
We have partnered together with the multi-agency team, and we do border sensitization, because we recognize that we have borders and there is cross-border trade.
Sure.
And we have to make also sure that we also monitor what is happening there and the population surrounding the border. And sometimes it could be a source of counterfeit. So we try to do that, and sharing information so that the bodies, the regulatory bodies working within the counterfeit are also aware that agrochemicals also can be counterfeited, and these are the areas they can check, so that we eliminate counterfeits coming inside, and also we have strategies to manage counterfeits that are brought in within the country.
Something very important that you mentioned, and I would like us to touch on this as we conclude. You mentioned cross borders. We have borders. Some products, I mean, if you look across industries,
yes.
In a country like Uganda, you can import a car this old from Japan.
Yes.
But then in Kenya, you find it's not the same case.
Yes.
Some of these policies apply even in products like, farm inputs. And you realize that in some countries, according to their policies, they allow the use of certain products. But then in our country, we do not allow such. Then in these borders, how do you distinguish between this product is from Uganda? Yes, there it is legal, but then if it is used in Kenya, according to your organization or the policies that you have in Kenya, is it acceptable? Can it be used? How do you tackle such issues?
Actually, that's a challenge. And, this East African community, there's regional harmonization.
Yes.
Talking about pest control products are regulated by Pest Control Products Act.
All right.
Or Pest Control Products Board. And they regulate importation, exportation, and registration of products.
Right.
So a product of our nature will not be brought in this country without registration.
Okay.
It must be registered. And registration, it takes place, there's a lot of data that you have to submit. Then once registration is granted or authorized, that's when you can bring in a product. That does not mean that a product registered here will be used in Tanzania. Okay? The jurisdiction is within Kenya.
Or within Kenya.
Uganda, through the Ministry of Agriculture, register products.
They have their own
Tanzania register products. Now, Ethiopia register products. All these have got different requirements for registration.
Yep.
Now, some don't want to call them weak for their own.
Yeah.
They have their own requirements. Tanzania, they have their own requirements. Kenya. So it could be easier for you to register a product in Uganda than in Kenya, for instance. It could be easier for you to register a product in Tanzania.
Depending on the standards that are set by
the standards that are set by a regulatory body. We borrow so much from EU and US on the requirements, and of course, FAO Code of Conduct. Some might not go that direction, but they might do that. So it will be easier for you to register a product. And those are some of the products. Those will be some of the products that will come in.
All right.
It will go to Uganda, but around in Busia area, farmers have a common problem.
Sure.
If it's tutor in Tanzania, it's tutor in Kenya.
And
if that product is working there, it's possible. But remember, that product has not been evaluated in Kenyan conditions to be sure that it's safe. And that's why we say it's not good. Now, those differential regimes are also posing a challenge. However, recently, we have done harmonization of requirements.
All right.
Okay? Through the East African community, these regulatory bodies have harmonized the requirements for registration in the East African region. Okay. Meaning that now, if you want to register a product, it will be easier for you. You'll register a product in Kenya, and then you will also be registered in Uganda on the same standards and Uganda. So it will be same. So it will be possibly, if you have registered through that East African community, it will be possible that you can sell in Kenya, Tanzania, and everything else. And that one probably is going to solve a problem of counterfeit.
Well, I think because of time, then we'll have to end it there. Thank you very much, Bwana Eric, for making time to come. I'd really love to have you back in the studio. Unfortunately, today we expected or other guests also from the pest control, and we were not able to get them. But once we are able to get them to come, I'd really love you also to come back together, because I mean, there's the menace that we are facing right now in the country of locust, and that's something that really needs to be looked into and tackled. And the public also needs to be, made aware of what really is going on and how this can be handled.
And actually, just to mention a bit of the locust, remember, the It is a problem. We agree it's a problem, it's a challenge. The government is trying with this, because it's the responsibility of the government to do that with FAO support and Desert Locust Control Unit. And we have scientists also trying to map out what is the challenge. Remember, the swarms, I don't know, they're doing the 13th counties and moving, and they're still moving towards the west. Billions of
laying eggs as they go.
Yes, exactly. They're laying eggs, and those eggs are going to hatch into another swarm.
Around March, I heard.
Exactly, and that's going to be. Now, meaning that we need to have a better strategy of targeting the adults, trying to find the breeding grounds so that we can manage those hoppers before they go into swamps, and also trying to find products that will work on probably the different life stages of the thing. And that has been done already. Recently we received the pest control products was asking member companies to provide products that have been used elsewhere by FAO to manage this. So very soon we are going to have a variety of products. It's a challenge. There's no blame game now, because probably I heard yesterday that there's a likelihood also in the South African, Tanzania, Malawi, Zambia, and Madagascar, they are seeing probably also an outbreak of the same. So while we are firefighting this, but more importantly on locusts, I think preventive strategy is better in terms of where you use the early warning systems and you prevent swarms from forming. That one you make sure that you manage it. But however, I'm sure the government is on top of things, and very soon we are going to see success in managing this.
Sure. Thank you very much, Bwana Eric, for coming and for sharing your thoughts, and also shedding a lot of light on what your organization, the Agrochemical Association of Kenya, does. Well, viewer, that brings us to the end of this segment of Morning Extra. For comments, suggestions, or opinion, you can send that to our email address, info@gbskenya.com. You can also drop us an SMS on 21144. My name is Timothy Omondi. Do have yourself a lovely day. I now pave way for my colleague Kevin Nyariki, who is coming up next with the Sports Extra. Bye-bye for now.